Hello and welcome. I'm going to show you how to build this header using the Neve header builder. You would need to have the Neve theme installed. We are using the free version. So go over to customize on the left. And once the page opens, click header. Okay, so here we have some options that we can use to customize the header. If you look at the bottom, you should see available components. We will be using these components to build our header. So at the top, we have the header live view area. So any changes we make will show up right here. And if you want to switch between desktop and mobile when building your header, use these buttons at the bottom. So below this, we have three different rows: header top, header main in the middle, and header bottom. So your components would sit within these rows. You can move your components around by dragging, and your changes will be shown in the live view area. To add a component to a row, simply drag it from the available components area to a row of your choice. And it's also possible to move components from one row to another. And this is a very flexible way to build very unique header layouts. And over in the customizer menu on the left, we have header presets that you can choose from if you're not up for building a header layout yourself. After choosing your header preset, you can go to your header builder at the bottom to move components around or make any adjustments that you see necessary. Now let's talk about rows for a minute. Each row has its own settings. So on the left, if you click this gear icon, you will be able to access each row's settings. So for example, on the main row, we have layout and style options. Under layout, we have three different options. Under style, these are our options. So for example, you can change the row height. At the bottom, you can change the border width. You can change border color, text color, as well as the row background color. So you can either choose a solid color or an image by accessing this tab. Feel free to play around with these options. So let's access the options for this component. I'm going to click settings, and the options show up on the left. We have general, layout, and style options. And here we have the options for the primary menu component. Okay, so let's remove these components to build our own header. The first thing I need is a logo. So I'm going to drag this logo component to the left-hand side of this row, and here we have a live preview. Next, I'm going to add a search form to the top row. And let's add a primary menu to the middle row, but all the way to the right. Okay, so if we look in the live view area, we can see the output of our components. So I'm going to go to settings for the top row. I'm going to go to style, and I want to change the row background color. So I could use the color picker to choose a color. So for example, if I wanted a red color, I could move this around to select this color, or what I'm going to do is remove this hex code, and I'm going to add my own code. So this will be a shade of green. Okay, so in the live preview area, we see a green top bar. Now I want to edit the search form. So I'm going to hover over it and click this pencil. Now I have access to its settings. I'm going to click layout just to show you the options so you can adjust padding or margin, but I will not need to adjust any of these options. Under style, I'm going to go down to border width and change all values to 0 to remove the border. And I'm also going to increase the border radius to give this search form a pale shape. And you can see the changes at the top. So I'm done customizing this component. Now let's move over to logo and site identity. So I'm going to click settings on this component. On the left, we have some options. Under display options, we have different layouts for the logo. I'm going to choose the first one. Now I'm going to change the logo. I'm going to click on this current one and click media library, click my logo, and click select. Skip cropping. So I now have my logo. This logo is not big enough, so I'm going to change its size. Under logo max width, I'm going to change this value. You can either use the slider or simply type the value in this box. So I'm going to make this 50 or 80. Okay. You can also click these buttons at the top to change your view from desktop to mobile. All right, we are done customizing this component. Let's move over to the primary menu. I'm going to click settings. So over on the left, we have some settings that we can configure. I'm going to change the item spacing to about 30. Okay. I will not need to adjust any of these other settings, so let's move over to the Style tab. Hover skin mode is the first option. So this is the effect that you see when you hover over a menu item. So I'm going to change this to an underline. Next, we have items color. I'm going to leave this as default. For active color, I'm going to use the same green color that we have at the top. I'm going to enter the hex code. Okay, I'm going to copy this code, Control C on Windows, Command C on Mac. Now for items hover color, I'm going to paste this same green color. Okay, now moving on to typography. I'm going to click this drop down and change the font family to Roboto. So I'm going to type Roboto in the search box. All right, and for the font weight, I'm going to make it about 400. Okay, so I will not be adjusting any of these other settings. If you'd like to add some more components to your header, feel free to do so. And by the way, clicking on an empty column is another way you can add a component to your header. For example, if I want to add a button to this row, all I need to do is click on the button component and its settings open automatically on the left. You can always go through your header to make sure everything looks good. Once you're satisfied with your design, click Publish at the top of the page. Now I'm going to right click on the logo and I'm going to click Open in a new tab. And I'm doing this since the logo is normally linked to the homepage. Feel free to use a different method. So here's our header. All right, so now you know how to create a header using the header builder from the free version of Neve.